Senator Quinn.
President.
Senator Rocky. Senator Shen. Senator Sloan.
Here.
Senator Tan.
President.
Senator Truax. Senator Padilla.
Here.
Senator Wheat.
President.
Senator Wu.
Here.
Senator Chung. Lee.
Here.
Pacheco. Tanya. And Rocky. All right. Oh, and Truax? No. All right. Let's move into external reports, starting with our UCPD representative.
And to let you know that UCPD is recruiting. So if anybody is close to graduation, you guys should contact me and we should talk. Because in my last 10 people that I've hired for different positions within the department, 4 of them have been UC students. So typically what I do is when we're in a recruitment drive, anybody that puts in an application that has UC on it, especially UC Berkeley, you're guaranteed an interview. So if you bring your A game, we have some pretty good jobs, and I am currently recruiting, I'm stressing. I need more people, and I like to pick from the community if that's an option for me. So put it out there to your constituents. We are hiring, and we would love to keep it in-house. Other than that, I wanted to address, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I told you guys about software that we're going to have that's going to help us with the deployment of our troops. Somebody raised a question, they wanted to know if it was going to give information such as profiling, like saying things like the suspect is a Hispanic male, age, whatever. That is nowhere near what our software will do. It does not cover giving out profiles. It just gives out locations based on data that is input by us. When I say data, I'm talking the actual crime, the location, the time of day, that kind of information. There's nothing about the suspect that is in, so that'll help us deploy our troops without profiling individuals. So that was a concern that was brought up, and I want to make sure I address it for you guys. Any questions for me? I see a look. Yes, sir.
Hi, I was wondering why that during the whole time visit there were so many uniformed officers, because during the conversation that we were having, DJ was having, there was an understanding that there would not be that many officers present.
I don't know what conversation you had, but to the best of my knowledge, that was a potential protest for a union. I forget which meeting was asked me. They said that they were going to try to disrupt a meeting. So to the best of my knowledge, from the get-go, I was aware, that wasn't the conversation that you were in, but I was aware that there were going to be police officers there. So whatever talks were planned for that day would not be disrupted. But outside of that, I don't know of anything. I don't know of any agreement not to have anybody present for me.
Other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
So last week a queer student was assaulted by his roommate, and a lot of people in my community have concerns with how UCPD talked to the press about it. I believe the officer said something about we strive for a neutral campus climate, and attacks don't usually occur between 2 people who know each other, so if you could expand a little bit on those 2 points, that'd be appreciated.
I don't know exactly what he said, but if you ask me a direct question, I can answer. So I'm not really sure what your question was.
Do you strive for a neutral campus climate for queer and trans students, or would you strive for, what word would you describe for a climate you would strive for?
Well, the climate is to treat everybody as equal. So that would be neutral. If that's your definition of neutral, would be to treat everybody equal, regardless queer or not queer. That's our goal, is to make sure that everybody gets protection from us, everybody gets service from us who need it, regardless of gender, sex, religion, anything. We're just here for our community as a whole, just one community, not sets or populations within our community. And your other question, was there 2 parts, or was that it? Okay.
Other questions? All right, if there are none, thank you.
Thank you.
So briefly, before we move on to the ASUC Auxiliary Report, I know that there are folks here who may or may not want to make comments about Title IX related things. If you are looking to make a comment, public comment is coming up in the relatively near future on the agenda. If you would like to make a public comment, we have a public comment cards on the back table here. They're a little bit informal because we've lost our nicer ones somehow. But please drop them off up here with me or with Lizzie once we fill them out. We'll add you to the speaker stack so that when it's time for public comments, we can call you up. With that said, let's welcome Rob for our ASUC Auxiliary Report.
Okay. So, hi everyone. Week 6, 10 more sessions to go. So, staffing and hiring updates. The Student Government Advising Leadership Development Team, we finally concluded our campus interviews for the coordinator advising to the graduate assembly. We hope to make an offer to that candidate by the end of this week, and then our team will be complete. Good. Pleased to announce that Jonathan Brazil has accepted the position of ASUC Summit Office Manager. He will be starting in early March, so we'll have a conversation with the EVP's office, and hopefully I'll be able to bring him to you soon to come have a conversation, meet with you in the near future. Event Services is holding on-campus interviews on Monday and Tuesday for the event coordinator position. And the TGIF coordinator position that was posted has been unposted due to a classification issue and will be posted at a later date. Construction updates. There is a strike planned for 5 a.m. March 3rd and 4th? No, March 3rd and March 8th? I can't know how to do this. Negotiation this week could keep the strike from happening. Some subcontractors on the Lower Star redevelopment project were robbed on Monday night. A police report was filed. Soundproofing at Chavez will be removed next week. Minor work at the south side of Chavez is planned for mid-August. And there is an emergency shutdown of power happening on this Friday from 5 to 7 in the morning to complete substation work. Program updates. The Event Services wrapped up presenting 4 sessions of the Event Planning 101 to student groups for the semester. SURC, Student Environmental Resource Center, has launched a blog and is offering a series of workshops this semester focused on topics like grant writing, starting your own business, project management, environmental storytelling, and grassroots fundraising. Other updates on TGIF. Since its inaugural grant cycle in spring 08, TGIF has awarded over $1.6 million in grants into 111 projects in the form of 84 spring grant awards, 26 fall mini grant awards, and 1 mini loan. 53 TGIF projects have successfully concluded, and 55 are currently in progress. Only 3 projects have been discontinued. These grants have included the funding of 200 student sustainability internships, and student interns have worked an estimated 12,000 hours on TGIF-funded projects. Upcoming events. SURC is co-hosting with the Career Center and College of Natural Resources the Energy, Environment, and Natural Resource Career Fair, Thursday, March 6th from 12 to 3 at Alumni House. SURC and ASUC are leading the planned efforts for Earth Week, which will be April 21st to April 27th. The Empowering Women of Color Conference. This will be Saturday, March 15th. If you want further information, you can go to ewalk.wordpress, and it's totally free for UC Berkeley students. Other updates, Event Services is now managing the front desk for all of 102 Sproul. Scheduling assistants are sitting at the front right when you walk in to 102. Services are still the same, so you can book services online through the virtual website. And then for any ASUC events, you can contact Nita Maradi. So I know in the past you've contacted maybe Vivi directly. Please contact Nita, the Event Services Student Government Event Planning Intern at Nita Maradi. I have the email address if you want it, at berkeley.edu. And then finally, SURC has finalized its mission statement. So it is the Student Environmental Resource Center, cultivates a collaborative space to strengthen the collective effectiveness of the sustainability community and provides resources for students to actualize their visions of a more equitable, socially just, and resilient world. And one other update, I was understood that some centers are having trouble booking classrooms for Senate type stuff. So you can talk to me afterwards, but I'm gonna look and see if we can extend that for senators. Question?
Questions from Rob? All right, if there are no questions, we'll move on then. Oh, Senator Lee.
I was informed if we are having events as senators, since we don't have like a budget for our offices, that we can register our event as a through a special activity account. I was wondering if you could go into detail with that, about how we can get funding for events we're throwing as senators.
Oh, okay. A special activity account?
Yeah.
That's not accurate as far as I know.
Yeah.
It's possible that you can do things like register to use classrooms and so forth as senators, but the only funding for ASUC programming is through the ASUC, and there's no such account for Senate funding, unless Finance Committee decides to make one next week.
Yeah. That's as far as I understand. Any other questions? Cool, thank you.
All right. If there are no other guest announcements, hopefully we'll move into public comments. So the first public comment part that we have is from Canadian Border.
But I just want to say that I think our university does a terrible job addressing sexual assault before it even occurs, and in the form of like education, and that it practically doesn't exist and is about to not exist anymore. And that's just not okay. And then it doesn't address it after really. Dirk just sent out an email, as everyone knows, talking about how there are more resources available now to survivors. That there might soon be more resources available to survivors, but they've promised a lot of things in the past that never go through, and just providing resources to people who have already been assaulted doesn't actually fix the issue. That's very pervasive on campus. 1 in 3 women, 1 in 6 men will be assaulted. In case y'all didn't know, they're talking here at Cal. And also Dirk's email did not address any disciplinary procedure improvement. So basically, it is theoretically going to help survivors, which is a great step forward, but it doesn't help keep any perpetrators held responsible for their actions, and it doesn't help prevent anyone else from getting assaulted, which is personally my main concern, because I believe if we had better education and awareness on campus, a lot of assaults could be avoided. And the university has yet to really talk about that at all. And yeah, so that's all I gotta say. There's people who have better things to say. Thanks.
Our first public commenter happened to end right on time. And so for our future public commenters, we'll be projecting the time just to make sure that y'all are cognizant of the amount of time we have for public comment. Our next public comment comes from someone who's not with their name. I don't like this comment, so I don't know.
involved with the writing of SB 130, which was passed last year as a vote of no confidence in UC Berkeley's sexual assault policies and the Office of Student Conduct. Since then, that policy hasn't radically changed in any particular way. There have been proposed changes, just like there's always a proposed change to anything, but nothing has actually solidly been done. After I also testified in August at the California State Assembly for the state audit that's currently going on right now, along with Sophie, Krasik, and a group of other students that came with us in support. And as that's being conducted, we've heard a lot of promises kind of thrown around. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, we promise to do this, we promise to do that. But we haven't actually seen any actual change. And no confidence does not mean that if you say something and you then have confidence you're going to do it. It's that you do something and you regain our confidence. And this bill is a vote of no confidence in disciplinary procedures, which is our main target in the 2 complaints that we filed with the federal government, the Cleary complaint and the Title IX complaint, which we filed today. The goal is to prevent an illegal activity from taking place, and that illegal activity is rape. And what Chancellor Dirks is proposing, although well-intentioned and very good for survivors who have been assaulted and it's after the fact type of support, it doesn't address the initial issue of how do we actually stop people from raping each other. And that is to really enforce our disciplinary procedures, which it's not doing. It hasn't been since 2011 since any adequate or any appropriate sanctions have been passed on a student who's committed assault, and there have been several serial rapists on campus since then. So it is a vote of no confidence in their policies around disciplinary procedure, and we definitely don't have confidence in that as survivors. And that's why we're here today to support the Senate bill that's on the agenda today, a vote of no confidence in UC Berkeley's disciplinary procedures. Thank you.
Our next public comment card comes from Aria on the same item.
Hi y'all, I'm Arman, and I'm here because I'm really tired. I'm really tired not only of administrative inaction and administrative lack of confidence, but also I'm tired of talking about this and hearing, oh my God, me too. I'm tired of going to women of all generations and saying, you know, I was sexually assaulted, and having them say, oh my God, so was I. Sorry. But something I'm really just irked by is a lack of discipline that comes from all kinds of sexual assault crimes on this campus. I did not report my assault because I was told that the reporting process was so egregious and so dehumanizing that it would be worse than the assault itself. And 4 years later, I stand by that decision. Because I look at it and I think, oh my God, I could not have done that. I could not have had my sexual history used against me. I could not have had those questions asked. I could not have had my assailant in the room with me while it was investigated. Good God, no. And yet, none of those things have changed. But when I look at the lack of discipline that goes on when it comes to sexual assailants, I think, oh my gosh, what is this telling survivors? It's telling them, your body isn't worth very much. You're not worth very much. You're worth, a little bit of a slap on the wrist, or you're worth a little bit of counseling, or you're worth a little bit of cover up. But you're not worth a full-blown disciplinary procedure. You're not worth an overhaul of our policies. You're not worth it. And I think we are worth it. And that's why I'm here to support this bill. To send that message not just through talking, but through actual action. Thank you.
All right. Our next public comment comes from Annie, also a Title IX.
My name is Jenny Clark, and I'm a former university administrator, and I helped the 31 complainants who filed the 3 federal complaints against Berkeley. So I'm here speaking from experience after talking with those and after being working at a university. So one of the most powerful stories I heard, or quotes, was from a survivor who commented today that said she would have rather taken the secret of her sexual assault to her grave than reported to this university. That is unacceptable. Right now, Berkeley is not in compliance with federal law. You are one of the best one of the best institutions in the country, in the world. You can do better. You're not even in compliance right now, and compliance is the basement. Berkeley has the capacity to have a policy that is the example for this country. So I just encourage the vote of no confidence and the bill. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call the next two public commenters up together because one will be yielding time to the other. So Matthew Lewis and Sophie Krasik, also on Alumnae.
My name is Matthew Lewis, and I yield my time to Sophie Krasik.
Hi, my name is Sophie Krasik, and I'm a third-year student here. And today, I filed a federal Title IX complaint, injury complaint, along with 30 other students against this university. I want to echo what Ali said, and I'm so tired. I am so exhausted. Constantly hearing stories of survivors at this university who have been mistreated. I can't bear to hear yet another person come forward and tell me how they were mishandled and ignored and dismissed. And I can't have someone here tonight tell me that they're not considering voting no confidence in this university, because that is what it deserves. This is not a problem that has been going on for a year or 2 years. This has been going on for 40 years at the least. So I don't want to hear anyone who doesn't think that this university should be held accountable. It's not about changing resources or changing the disciplinary procedures. It's about changing the culture, and you have to start by doing both. So I'm here tonight to encourage you to vote yes on this bill, because we deserve better from Berkeley. Thank you.
Our last public comment on this item comes from Shannon. You know that someone was going to text when public comment started so that she would hopefully be here. Okay. If not, we can wait until we get to that actual item to do the public comment. That's also an option too. Since we don't have Shannon with us, let's move on to approval of the minutes from February 19th, 2014. I need a motion to approve the minutes from February 19th.
So moved.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any amendments that need to be made to the minutes? Are there any objections to the motion? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you all. We'll move that into executive officer reports, starting with the office of the president.
I think I just electrocuted myself. Hold on, sorry, I'm overwhelmed. Okay, so this past week, last Tuesday, there was a financial literacy work group. It was the first meeting of the work group that has been convened by Harry LeGrand and other staff members who are coming together to really think about a program, a tiered program that would help improve financial literacy for students, and being able to cater that towards specifically fourth years and then first years. For example, there's a class that teaches financial literacy from a professor, but it's mainly geared towards fourth years who are graduating to learn like real life finances, and that's not necessarily something that helps out first years in their experience. So that work group will be working towards thinking about that. My standing meeting with Associate Chancellor Linda Williams last week also went well. We went over the Napolitano visit. I received good feedback from her and other administrators in Cal Hall that day, just about the coordination of students and how well in terms of organized that went, given the circumstances that we had. We also talked about a potential collaboration event that the Chancellor's office is interested in seeking my office's help from, along with staff and faculty, to do in April around Sexual Self-Awareness Month. And then the Chancellor's office will be hiring a new Deputy Associate Chancellor to help out Linda Williams in a lot of the efforts that she makes. She does a lot of
She's been working and been the main point person administratively from the chancellor's office on, like, for example, the campus-wide Title IX review committee. She handles a lot of direct, like, student programming and issues that get brought up to the chancellor's office. Officially transferred ESF account, the CD, and our checking account into my name, so Connor and Greg are no longer on our accounts, so that's good. And then we're still working on the CA. We have a meeting tomorrow between the budget office, some folks from auxiliary, myself and Bahar from the BA to work on really wrapping up that process and finishing the rewrite. There's something else I needed to mention. So the Office of President Sexual Assault Task Force will also be kicking off Consent Week next week from March 3rd to March 7th. Austin will be sending you an email later with the flyer and a list of events to forward to your communities. We're having student leader trainings on Tuesday from 6 to 7 and 7 to 8. That's an event that's going to be centered around helping train student leaders of organizations figure out or learn how to deal with sexual assault when it happens in their own student organizations as student leaders, and what resources are available for their community members in their organizations to, reach out to if they experience sexual assault at, or club events and whatnot. On Wednesday, they'll be having a Policy 101 workshop from 7 to 8 to learn more about the Title IX policies in general and what your rights are as a survivor if you choose to report to the Title IX office. We're also having a Survivor Solidarity Circle on Thursday from 8 to 9:30. And on Friday, there will be 2 consent workshops from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. And then they'll also be tabling all week on Sproul and selling I Heart Consent t-shirts. I believe they're either $7 or $10. But if you want to go by and check that out, definitely feel free to. Once you get that email, please send it out to your communities. It's super important to help kick off Consent Week. And then lastly, the Assistant Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students search is going well. Harry LeGrand has finalized 3 finalists to move forward with the on-campus interviews. Campus-wide email will be getting sent out shortly, probably before the end of the week. That will announce the 3 candidates' names so you can do your own research on them individually and on your own. I sent out the email to you all. Please, execs also, EVP Pack, AVP Jameson, I see you, and student advocates of it all. Please send this out to your office staffs and your interns, anyone who you know, all of your student groups that you're involved of, all of your friends. There are open student forum portions where you will be able to meet with the candidates. They're from 3 to 4 on the days of the interviews, and they're all either on Tuesday or Friday over the next 2 weeks. This is really, really important, not just to show how much students really care about this from a candidate's perspective. Having an open student forum where there's a good student turnout is something that's positive, and that they'll be able to really see as candidates and as potential people coming to Berkeley as administrators, that the standard for student engagement and student involvement when it comes to interacting with administrators is a very high bar that we set here. So please come out, especially as elected, to those open student forum sessions. It's super important. Our ASUC Auxiliary Executive Director is a direct report to the Dean of Students and is a part of that portfolio. So this is really important for the ASUC as well, and especially when it comes to protest response and issues surrounding sexual assault and policies and student conduct. This administrator is arguably one of the most front-facing administrators with students, so I really need all of your help in showing support for students for these open forums and bringing questions forward to really make sure that these candidates are aware of this environment they're coming into. But you have to RSVP, so please look at that email that I sent to you, RSVP, so you can get more information. That's all.
Any questions for President Pepito? All right, questions, thank you.
to emphasize that the textbook scholarship program and the Rise Scholarship program will be launching next Friday. I know textbook scholarship committee has received all of the templates of the flyer, the application, the rubric. I do want to apologize for Rise because that will be sent out to you no latest tomorrow. And the reason behind that is because we made a decision to move forward with having them released on the same date and having a larger banquet appreciation event program also in the end, well, mid-April. So that's after all of the applicants have been awarded and they receive their funds in mid-April. In regards to Berkeley Student Foundation, I have submitted a bill just to legitimize the interim executive director position and moving forward talking to Amanda and Rob about setting up an account in my office to be able to move some of those funds to allocate or appoint or hire a program coordinator to be able to launch the following scholarships for this upcoming academic year. So the 2014-2015 academic year scholarship recipients. With the formerly incarcerated resource center, I spoke with the director of CE3, and he said that we have a go-ahead to pick up the key tomorrow from Dave Stark, who is the director of Stiles Hall. So that is where the center will be housed, and we will be able to send any of our purchase requests through directly to CE3 so he can start making the payments for all of the startup costs for the center, as well as looking at the feasibility of hiring not only a program director for the research center, who would be a graduate student, but also some support from an undergraduate work-study position. This Friday, the Academic Affairs Office will be collaborating with Office of the President for a small academic giveaway, so look out for the publicity for that via Facebook and other online forums. And March 13th is a tentative date set for a student forum to raise awareness around what academic senate committees are and administrative committees are. We hope that this will be a great event, not only to launch more visibility around how students can have an impact within multiple committees on campus, but in hopes that that will garner more support and visibility for the release of the applications that will begin March 17th or so for the next academic year. So we're hoping to take the lessons that we learned from appointing students in the spring last year, which is the first time that the former AAVP and former staff members chose the student representatives that we currently have. We're going to be doing that again. So hopefully we'll be able to streamline and effectivize any of the issues that happened last year with that. Also, me and my chief of staff were able to meet with Betty Deacon, the Academic Senate Chair, on Friday, and we spoke about the decisions and the allocation of the library funds, which we will be furthering our conversations with the incoming Vice Provost, as well as looking at the student resource guide, which DIVCO has officially sent out a letter to us that essentially told us that they liked the idea, it was a great idea, but that they're going to be moving forward with that as a recommendation. And as a suggestion to us, they told us to contact B courses and all the new student information systems to try to get the student resource guide posted somewhere online, just in terms of like it being an environmental issue, or also mandating faculty would be too egregious for that particular guide. But once again, the Department of Social Welfare has agreed to take it on, as well as the College of Environmental Design, said that they would be attaching that to their syllabi in the next academic year. But we hope that we can move towards an online forum, also just in the interest of sustainability and reducing paper waste. So that concludes my reports. So I don't know if there's any questions.
Are there any questions for Shannon P. Jameson?
Oh wait, one last thing, sorry. Also for the new Arts and Creativity Fund that we will be launching this semester, we are in need of 2 slots for senators. So if there are senators who are interested in sitting on the committee for allocations to the Arts and Creativity Fund that we're launching this semester, please contact me or my grant coordinator, Tom.
Great. Any other questions? All right, there are none. So next up, we'll have a report from the Office of the External Affairs Vice President.
will be pretty quick. First, today we started the first filming of the safety campaign that we'll be launching, and the first video should come out next week. So this is in conjunction with the neighborhood walks that we've been doing, the neighborhood mixers we've been doing, and we talked about what are some tangible steps that we could move forward. And so the first kind of major thing has been the lighting efforts, and the second is the videos. And so the first one is just like an infomercial about Bear Walk, but it's like cute and fun, and Oski's involved. So I'll send that out to all of you, and please forward it out to your constituencies. A few of you have asked me about the homelessness task force. I've emailed those of you specifically who have been interested in it and are not already on the mailing list, but if there are more of you interested in getting involved with the city's homelessness task force, please let me know and I can forward you more information about that. Redistricting last night was a crazy council meeting. I mean, it wasn't that crazy, it was just really long. But the council has decided, first of all, they verified the signatures that were gathered for the referendum. And the second thing that they've done is decided to delay the decision about, sorry, I'm assuming. Okay. No. Better?
Can everyone just
Okay,
pause
that's
the mics for a second, just in case that's serious? We can just leave that one on.
Okay, better, okay. So the council has delayed the actual decision about whether or not they'll rescind the original ordinance or put it on the ballot until, my voice just really loud? I'll stand back here. And they just delayed that decision until March 11th, so the next council meeting. So if you're interested in kind of like what was said or what the council might be doing, talk to me about it. But right now the decision that they're considering is whether or not to move the map question to the ballot, or if they'll rescind the BSDC ordinance and consider other compromise plans. So that's kind of what's happening with that. As far as what I'm doing is we've been working on a bunch of compromise maps, looking at the compromise maps that have been submitted, but I made a statement that I think at this point it's in the best interest of the city to put it on the ballot in November. But we can talk more about that off the floor, on the floor, whatever is interesting to you. UCSA met with UC President Napolitano yesterday. I just wanted to give you an overview of what's spoken about. We've been lobbying her to get her support for additional student regents. She verbally supported the idea of adding an additional student regent, potentially 2. That being said, she's aware of the fact that it's a constitutional amendment. So we basically said, if we do the legwork, will you come out in full support of adding an additional regent? And she said, that. So we're going to be working on that with her and working on kind of like a step-by-step of how she could make that happen using her political clout. We also talked about additional alternative methods for tuition repayment. We'll be lobbying the regents in March, potentially with her support to support an oil severance tax. We talked about the Fund the UC campaign, mental health issues on each campus, and the fact that the new chief investment officer is looking at the entire portfolio of UC investments to redetermine what best practices might be. ASUC is going on strike. That was voted on with 96% support. So they'll be striking March 3rd through the 7th. There'll be a press conference in Sacramento about that. I'll probably be going, and I'll email out to all of you if you're interested in coming with me. Otherwise, as far as information about the strike, I'll pass it on to you as I get it. UCSA has our next board meeting this weekend at UC Irvine. If you're interested in seeing the agenda for that, it's posted on the EAP website. As far as drought initiatives go, I met yesterday with somebody from the East Bay Municipal Utilities District, and he said that he'd be interested to come to talk to you all about ways that students could reduce their water consumption. For now, I told him to just forward me the initiatives that they're working on, and I'll email that to you. If something that you're interested in is him coming to speak to you all, let me know and we can arrange that. Last thing, as far as Cal Housing Director, we're still searching for somebody to take the position. If there's somebody that you're interested in taking the position, let me know. The initiatives that the Cal Housing Director was working on have been kind of re-encompassed by our office generally. Berkeley Cribs is still going to be relaunched this semester, as well as there will be a tenants' rights week, and I met with somebody from the rent board about new ways to disseminate rent information and student organizing around rent issues. That's it.
So Senators, do you have any questions for our EADP? Please remember to turn your mics back on if you're going to ask a question. Senators and mics.
Hi. Okay, hi Sabina. So I just had a question about the question regarding the student regent. So what is the purpose of having 2 student regents? Because I'm just trying to wrap my head around that because we're still in like low numbers and yeah, so it's still out of 2 out of 24 votes or something like that. So can you just elaborate more on that and why people are investing their energy in that?
Totally, that's a great question. So initially, and if it were to be my way or probably any of your ways, the regents would be composed mostly of students. That being said, it's not super politically feasible, and so we've discussed with the regents about the fact that we have pretty limited access to what the regents actually do. So the idea is right now we have like 1 official student voice and 1 semi-official student voice. But always that 1 person is not representative of the entire 240,000 students at the UC. So we are always trying to push for at least 1 undergraduate and 1 graduate student regent, because as we've noticed, more and more graduate issues are differing more and more from undergraduate issues, and we have a lot of the same issues, but 1 student regent just doesn't have the time to be lobbying all the regents for issues. And so we're taking baby steps, but ideally it would be more than that. Yeah.
Other questions, senators? All right, if there are none, thank you.
Thanks.
So next up, we have a report from the Student Advocate's Office.
Hello, everybody. So firstly, the Compliance and Enterprise Risk Committee, or CERT, is going to put together or ask for members of a student focus group that would be reporting to that group. And the specific topic of discussion for that focus group would be alcohol-related risks and how we can help mitigate some of the issues that are related to alcohol in light of a lot of the transports that happened at the beginning of this semester and last semester as well. So please, if that's something you feel like you or your constituents are interested in getting input about, please reach out to me and I'll figure out a way to get you in touch. So, an example of something that focus group might be touching on is whether alcohol at EDU is effective in educating students about side effects of alcohol, or if we should switch to a different provider and why. So SAO is currently working on a project to revamp our medical withdrawal process. And what that means is there's kind of a specified process by which students who have a medical emergency can withdraw from the academics at this university. And that process has stricken us as very problematic, in particular in that students have to pay a fee to withdraw in these circumstances, and that's pretty taxing for a person who's already in a difficult position to begin with and has a medical emergency to deal with. So if this is something that your constituents or yourself have been party to, or if you know someone has gone through that process, please let us know how that went for them. We're looking to collect kind of some anecdotal evidence as well as some numbers before we go into some of the meetings we all lined up for March. And lastly, one of our projects has been to examine kind of the amount of units allotted to different classes on campus and see whether that's appropriate in terms of the COSI guidelines as to the amount of hours that should correspond to units in unit assignment. So what that means is in the Academic Senate, there's a committee called COSI, and they approve syllabi, and when they do that, they approve a number of units to be assigned to a given class. So in many cases, we've seen that classes such as Bio 1AL in particular, we've seen that the amount of hours required by the professors are just do not correspond to the units that students receive for those classes. So if you have heard of other classes of that fit that description, or if you've heard about people who've had that issue with Bio 1AL and maybe any kind of ramifications that caused them, please let us know so that we can boost the conversations that we're having about those issues. Thank you very much.
Questions from senators. Senator Padilla.
Hi, Tim. So I was in a focus group with Professor Beatty, and he's an MCD professor regarding the same issue of Bylaw 1AL. And some of the issues that came up were students would be able to graduate on time if the unit cap was like really reflective of the number of hours, just because they would be able to take less courses, as well as the fact that it weighted grades would actually impact students negatively in different ways because of units. I was wondering how are those considerations going to be taken into account?
So we're in pretty early stages. We talked to COSI about all of this last semester, and there was a lot of inertia there, which is why we kind of started partnering with Valerie's office and her chief staff Andreas in getting that on the table with Chair Beacon and the Senate. But those are definitely points that we'll raise.
All right, other questions for the student advocates? All right, if there are none, thank you. Okay, I'm going to run through my report relatively quickly, hopefully. I apologize, my written report is still late this week. I am missing key reports from my finance department and some of the others who have updates on CalLodge related things that I want to make sure are submitted to me before I submit my written report. They're working really hard on CalLodge and it's moving very fast, so more on that to come in a moment. Some basic updates. The programs and events department has started preparations already for a fall ASUC decal. Traditionally, it can be really difficult to have a fall decal because of the way that transitions work. And generally speaking, our DEP staff is not picked in time to do a fall decal, but that's in the works already. They've also started working on a transition packet that will be given to the next EVP so that they have an idea of how the internship program worked under our office and how the ASUC decal ran and other things of that nature. The Student Resources Department and EVP has continued to work on spring budgeting with the finance officer and others, continuing to do workshops and so forth. They have a really cool flyer that has like a money flower on it. It's fantastic. For sustainability stuff, I'm going to defer to Kaylee, who's going to report later, and then for communication stuff, I'm going to defer to Joe, who will also report later. Some stuff that happened for this week that's, I guess, interesting to know. This morning, I attended the campus committee on classroom policy and management, which was, as always, a fascinating space to be in, where some people are thoroughly out of touch. But there was a really, I don't know, I found it sort of a troubling presentation about making the, it was, I guess, described as making facilities management more efficient, but basically, like, the idea was that we're going to buy a whole bunch of new equipment and other things related to cleaning the buildings, and the sort of pie chart they showed at the end of the presentation, the place where the cost to cover the new equipment and upkeep comes from is from staff. So they're significantly cutting the amount of staff that we have on campus, also not filling open positions that are there for facilities and custodial staff. And the person giving a presentation literally said to the excitement of people on the committee that he will be replacing people with machines. So that's something that's going on in CCCM. Possibly you can look forward to something related to that. And ASUC coming before Senate, if I had anything to do with it. On food pantry, we inspected the style fall space, which looks almost ready to move in, at least for like dry goods. So food pantry is moving along. We're having some, I don't want to say difficulties, everyone's been really cooperative, but as you know, there are many bureaucratic hurdles that you have to go through to work with any department on campus, whether it's outlining or residence hall or whatever. So that's still a work in progress. We anticipate though that it will still open this semester. We're recruiting for coordinators right now. I think only 2 people have submitted applications for the food pantry coordinator positions. It's a stipended position for the rest of the semester. So if y'all have any people who are really passionate about like food justice or making sure that people have access to good food and are skilled at coordinating volunteers, consider forwarding them to us so that we can get them plugged into that interview process. And then lastly, this is really exciting. I was in a meeting last week about evening space. So it's called after-hour space in classroom buildings. The policy memo that I shared with you all about the ASUC auxiliary taking over the management of key buildings on campus seems to be like partially moving ahead. So in my proposal, I asked for Winnell, Barrows, Wheeler, and Evans. The auxiliary is actually working with the registrar's office now to implement a plan where the auxiliary after hours will use student staffers instead of, I don't know, rovers or whatever they call them in Winnell, to run Wheeler. So we're one building closer to that happening, and we anticipate that that will launch in fall of 2014. So we're getting there, moving toward a unified event management process, starting with Wheeler, one step at a time. I think Oh, also, for those of you who weren't there at Big Career event, you missed me doing a choreographed dance with Shane to Let's Have a Kiki. So, I hope not. Yeah, so that was a fascinating experience. My first foray into choreographed dance. Any questions about EVP related reports? Senator Mullen?
It's also a comment, more of a comment than some question, just in the fact that I want to reiterate like the comment you said about facilities, particularly like staff members. Also just the general state of facilities on campus is pretty dismal. Most of my office staff has brought that up as the one issue that they really want to work on, is the fact that like the general state of classrooms, and especially bathrooms, is pretty poor. And I think that comes from like de-staffing, not buying more machines. Because we clearly already don't have enough staff members, and there's already enough, there's plenty of machines and not enough people actually working. So I'm sure asking has something to say about that. But from a student perspective, it's just about a sense of like cleanliness and pride in our campus, and being able to go to the bathroom and have things work is generally appreciated. So I just wanted to reiterate, I think that's a very important point to make.
Yeah, that was covered fairly extensively in the presentation, which was strictly from an administrative perspective. So I'm going to follow up and see like what the union's perspective is on that, because I'm sure they have other things to say. Other questions? All right, if there are none, we will move on from executive reports into special orders. Our first one is from the Roosevelt Institute. So let's welcome Hannah.
Hi everyone, I just want to extend my thank you to AEP PAC for making time for me. I see that you all are a little bit behind, so I won't take up the full 30 minutes, as I know what it's like to be in a meeting that goes over, especially on a Wednesday evening. So, I look around this room, I see a lot of familiar faces, but mostly new ones, which is really exciting for me. My name is Hannah Israel. I'm a public policy major at Mills College, and I'm also the Bay Area coordinator for the Roosevelt Institute Campus Network. I'm sure a few of you have heard what the Roosevelt Institute is, but it's still pretty ambiguous. We do a lot of projects annually, so maybe some of you don't even know who the Roosevelt Institute is at all, which is even better. It's good that I'm here then. So basically, the Roosevelt Institute Campus Network is a national student initiative that engages young people in a unique form of progressive activism that empowers them as leaders and promotes their ideas for change. So through coordinating with political actors and community members, students in the Roosevelt Institute, they will identify pressing issues in their communities, in their towns, on their campuses, and they take advantage of the resources on their college campuses and engage in policy research and writing that will basically then connect the fruits of their research to the political process, delivering sound progressive proposals to policymakers and advocacy groups. So, let's see. There are three major components to the Roosevelt Institute. The first one is creating a chapter. So we're about 10,000 members strong with about 115 chapters in 38 states. And the network is pretty positioned to generate a lot of, I guess I want to say a lot of chapters this year, as we've been given a pretty huge grant to extend into the Western region. The Roosevelt Institute is pretty well known on the East Coast, and we're trying to work to build that, in California. So we leverage our presence nationwide towards elevating young people in their priorities and serving as a thought leader on how the millennial generation is redefining, I should say, political engagement. So with 6 national staff members, 30 volunteer student leaders, a community college advisory board, and a student board of advisors composed of 5 students, we support the development and growth of the campus network, training supported by national office, and our unique approach to policy change. These teams work together to support young people committed to civic participation, progressive change, which is why I'm here to talk to you individuals, because we all gather weekly, probably more than that, to discuss different campus issues and policies that connect to your constituents. Am I making noises with the mic? Is it okay? Okay, here's some, whatever that is. Okay. So the other way to get involved is through policy writing. The Roosevelt Institute has a few different platforms for students to share their ideas. The main one is our 10 Ideas series that we published the top 60 ideas nationwide on a few different policy areas. The first one is the energy and environment, defense and diplomacy, equal justice, education, economic development, and healthcare. We publish this annually. The due date will be, for this year, will be in November, so I look forward to seeing a few from Cal students. Let's see. So these policies will get published and passed on to, different community actors. They've been implemented in community organizations, national advocacy organizations, and even governmental agencies. So there's a real connection between your idea and your community with Roosevelt. The third way to get involved is actually a few Cal students applied this year, so I'm very excited about that, is the Roosevelt Institute Summer Academy. So the Summer Academy is a summer, did somebody apply? Did I see? Oh, excellent. Can I ask which one you applied to? New York?
Yeah.
Wonderful, excellent. So it's an intensive leadership development program that will bring students who are committed to positive change together from different parts of the country to enable them with tools and community resources to tackle a team-based challenge. The one this year in New York is inequality. Then there's a few individualized ones in DC this year, but what I'm most excited about is the Roosevelt Institute is rolling out a summer academy in the Bay Area with the Teen Challenge of equitable development, which is something we so direly need. Let's see. So the Summer Academy runs in the Bay Area, Washington, D.C., New York City, and Chicago. It's a paid fellowship that's got a pretty rigorous curriculum, and I hope that more of you will apply next year as it becomes more popular on this campus. So let's see. I guess in essence, I'm here to pretty much solicit buy-in from student representatives to extend this opportunity to the campus community at large, which is why I'm here at the ASUC meeting. We haven't had a chapter at Cal yet, and I'm really excited to hopefully start one. The Mills chapter has been active. It's one of the oldest chapters in the Western region for Roosevelt. And so now with this expansion, I thought what better campus to go to than the #1 public research institution in the country. So I guess if there are any questions about how to get involved beyond starting a chapter, I want to make myself available to all of you. We can put the website on the projector. I emailed you the link if you could just click it. So our website, which is westernregionroo.org, will have a lot of information about chapters that have already been created in the Western region, some of the different events we have going on. There we go. Oh, that's so beautiful. You can scroll down, please. So that's pretty much our mission. The different programs, so there's Summer Academy, our 10 Ideas policy series, which is going to be due in November this year. And then different events. We just had our Western Region Conference at UCLA, which is another one of our older chapters for the West. Every August we have a leadership summit in Hyde Park, New York at the Roosevelt Presidential Library. So hopefully if Cal creates a chapter, we can have some chapter heads come over and connect with students from other chapters in the country. And you can pass the video for now, please. And then, so the West is comprised of 7 different states: Alaska, Arizona, Hawaii, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, more than that, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming. I don't have, I guess, to be responsible for any of them, but the Bay Area, so lucky me. If you can scroll down a little bit more. So this is just a list of our chapters that have been created. A few are prospective as they're on probation. They need to be active first semester in order to be officially active to Roosevelt. And so that's a photo of us at Hyde Park last year. A lot of community college students. And this is your leadership team. So there's 2 regional co-coordinators. There's 2 community college coordinators. I don't have a photo yet. And there's communications coordinator, new chapters coordinator, and policy coordinator, and then our senior fellow. So this is how you can get involved with us. You can email me at, my email's not here. You can email me at hisrael@rooseveltinstitute.org. Or you can find us on Facebook at Western Region RU. Those are two pretty good ways of getting in touch with us. We also have a Twitter that I have no control over because, as everyone that's close to me knows, I'm a bit of a Neoludite, so I don't know how to use it. And then I want to leave you with this video, so if you can scroll back up to that video. Thank you. If you can play that with sound, that'd be excellent. Thank you.
See if the sound works. I'm not making any promises.
Oh, well, if it doesn't, it will be just half as stupid. That's right. It's pretty good without sound. Just cue some dramatic music in your head.
Yes, Senators, do you have any questions for our guest speaker? Senator Mullen and Senator Boche?
Hi, Hannah. Thank you so much for coming to present to us. Could you describe what a chapter would look like on campus, what they'd be involved in, and maybe like in the future if we decide to be part of one, like what would we be doing?
Sure. A chapter is basically, it looks like a club on campus. You get chartered as a club on your campus under the Roosevelt name, and it's open open participation. There's no real qualifications to be a member of a chapter besides going to that school. We're currently working on creating different hub chapters because it might be a little difficult for some of our smaller campuses in the Bay Area to create a chapter on their own. So we're looking at the potential for larger institutions such as Mills or Berkeley to be hub chapters to little smaller campuses that surround them. So you would charter as a club, potentially ask for club funding like any other club would, and then you would also get chapter grants from the national office to be able to fund different events. I know a lot of campuses. We teamed up with actually Professor Professor Reich, sorry, to have a lot of documentary screenings for his newest film, Inequality for All, or his only film probably, I'm not entirely sure. So we had a lot of those going on. We get a lot of chapter grants to go out into the community and do a lot of work. Right now we're gearing up for the Summer Academy in the Bay Area, so we're pinpointing different good internships for students to get involved in that will help with the housing crisis. Let's see, some other things that the chapter could do is research and write policy ideas pertinent to their campus, to their community, or their constituent group, and get it published in a journal or on the Western Region blog, which is seen by quite a few people, and also the Next New Deal, which is also a affiliate website to, or blog to Roosevelt Institute. So there's like quite a few things. I mean, there's no one, I guess, one look for a chapter. They all do a variety of things. The George Washington chapter, or George Washington University chapter, got on board with a lot of the groundwork for raising the minimum wage. Then the Humboldt State University chapter is working on raising the minimum wage based on that model. They're also working on creating kindergartners, this is really cute, creating college savings accounts for kindergartners in their county. So there's a lot of different things. There was a chapter in Maine that worked on lobster conservation. You name it, you can do it basically.
Cool. Second will take.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I was going to really commend you for taking the time to come here and inform us about this wonderful institution. So I just wanted to commend you for your presence. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Any other questions for our guest speaker tonight? All right. If there are none, thank you, Hannah.
Great, thanks again.
All right. So we'll move on then to our next special order, which is on Cal Central. We have that scheduled for 20 minutes. I have no idea who's presenting on that, so. Yes, no, maybe? All right, if not, that's 21 minutes that we've got for our video. So next, we'll have Conrad and Bylaw revision, question and answers from the Attorney General's office. You are on camera, Shannon.
And no social graces whatsoever, I apologize. How's everyone doing? Not good. It's like a monsoon outside. Stalling. We wanted to update the Senate on the activities of Conrad, and just to sort of give you assurance that every Monday night we are actually indeed doing something. So this is a sort of a brief 15-minute, hopefully less than 15-minute overhaul or overview of the overhaul, so that way everyone is on the same page and the bylaws will be great, I promise. So, this is the first part, out with the old. So we all have had the experience of going on the ASUC website, that tragic thing, and then trying to find in the maze of the menus the old, where the bylaws are now, the repository as it is called. And on the left you can see it is a giant list of 30, one doesn't work, another one is not a link to anything. And it's just a bunch of Word documents that you download. So obviously it's pretty problematic that if you want to find anything, you have to open 30-ish different Word documents and look through it. And people have to spend hours swimming through all of those different documents. Each bill that, also, as far as the amendments, every time they amend it, the office manager has to use the master copy disk, which sounds very archaic. And then she or he has to update it, and then they have to re-upload the Word document after the Attorney General verifies the Word document. And then we also have to hope that this is the most current version that's up there, which is obviously problematic. And in with the new. So on the left-hand side, I took some pictures on what it will look like now, and instead we've consolidated it now. We're moving it all to Google Drive. And so there are 6 different subject areas that sort of narrow down the focus of what you're looking for. So there are 6 different subject areas: administration and operations, sponsorship and finance, programs, finance. One of those is wrong. I think one is just sponsorships, and then programs, finance, scholarships and awards in general. And then once you click one of those 6 areas, it goes down to articles, it subdivides further, and then you go past that into the blue section, the doc files, and then it has the specific sections that we're used to seeing. One of the benefits of moving to Google Drive is that it has a master search capability, and so rather than downloading all files and then going 30 different times, Control F, and then having to search through all instances, it'll search throughout all of the bylaws, so that way you can find it regardless of what title it's in, and you don't have to download all those different Word documents. It also consolidates them into more navigable search areas. And also, it specifies it within there further. And then we don't have to cite title, article, section, subsection, clause, letter. It'll just be bylaw 5400 or bylaw whichever. So it's a little bit easier on that in that respect. Also, it's easier for us to edit it. Also, we just go in there. Those of us who have editing privileges, which is the office manager and the attorney general, we can just amend it, and you can see it right there, and you can see that it's been amended rather than having to add that it's been verified at the bottom. And then also people can still view it, so it's also still very transparent. You don't have to worry about converting from doc file to PDF. It's just sort of automatically taken care of. More of it, this is what they'll actually look like when you click the doc file. It'll have it at the top, bylaw number. This is extremely out of focus, I apologize. So it'll have, I use Senate section, which is bylaw, which would be bylaw 1110. And then it's just going to clean it up on the side. It'll be a uniform system rather than, it sort of being all over the place like it is now. And then on the right-hand side, the bylaw status will have when it was revised by the Senate so that you all are aware when it was visited last. And then it'll keep the Secretariat update and then the verification of the Attorney General. That is all for that slide. And then also, like I said about accessibility, it's really difficult for people to get a hold of current updated language. And so if you just go to tinyurl.com/ASUC Constitution and Bylaws, if you're interested right now, then you can go on there and it'll have the drive and you can go through and search it in case you haven't been added. But I think I sent out the ad to the Senate last night. And then also this is for people in the public if they just want to search that. Also, I think if you Google it, I set it to where you can access it through Google. And then also the proposed bylaws are there in the top file in case you're curious what Conrad's been working on. Some of the future developments that we are going to be working on is standing rules. So rather than have that, for example, I know it was very controversial that we cannot see timed members of the public. There was a whole civil war here in the ASUC about that. Rather than have that in the bylaws and then you can't amend it without a 2/3 vote after 2 weeks and submitting a bill, that could potentially be something that just was in the standing rules, and if 2/3 of the Senate decides to suspend the rule, then it can do that. So lighter types of rules will go in the standing rules, so that way the meetings are a little more manageable rather than it going in bylaws and being constricted by the fact that it does become a bylaw. Also, one of the preliminary discussions we've been having is rather than have these independent programs that are associated with ASUC and name only, rather than have all of their information in our bylaws, we would create a charter system to where it looks more like an MOU between ASUC and that organization rather than us have total governing authority over an organization that most of us are totally unfamiliar with. And then also we discussed streamlining governance of the ASUC funds rather than have a bunch of different funds that require a few senators to sit on those committees. We would streamline it to a more manageable process, and we're talking to the ADP office about that. So where do we go from here? Conrad is wrapping up the work. Most of funds is done. We split up into subcommittees so we can tackle the work better. So we have operations, funds, and programs. Programs, from what I understand, are still working on talking to people and engaging the programs and what kind of language they need to go into the bylaws. The funds, from what I understand, are being wrapped up, and then operations, since we have all of Title I and elections and pretty much all the awful titles got stuck in our subcommittee, so we're still swimming through that greatness. We're also going to be creating reports about what language changes, what's added, what's taken out, what is just changed in substance, so that way you can see comparatively what's being changed, so that way nobody can say that something was like taken out or something was snuck in. So the new bylaws will be compared directly next to the old ones so that we can see. Also, rather than a giant bill that's the length of our bylaws with everything underlined and struck through, I just suggest that we adopt like an omnibus super bill, essentially adopting new bylaws rather than a flurry of small amendments would be my suggestion. And then also for it to take effect at the beginning of the summer session, so we'll have our old bylaws through the end of spring, and then the new ones will take effect in the summer and return. So how you can help, and we would love your help, is to email any ideas that you have regarding things that aren't in there that should be in there, or things that are in there that are awful, or things that we should change. I only have so many ideas floating around in my head, and so do other members of Congress. So if you have some ideas floating around your head and you'd like to share those ideas with us, then we would definitely appreciate it. And I'm sure that was a lot of information, and I apologize, but it is what it is. Sorry, I'm not sorry. Are there any questions?
Questions for the Attorney General, Senator Roche?
Could you go through, I'm just playing, but no, I just wanted to say, I just wanted to thank you for all the work that you do. I think you've really brought a very good element from the work that you have done so far, and I really appreciate the fact that you take the time and you put your passion to this. I think this is just another good example of transfer from the college students having a good impact on the ASUC. So I just really want to say that because you put up a lot of the things in the bylaws, and as well as organize it and format it. Obviously, also want to give a thanks to our chair as well, Sean Tan, for leading that. And so I just want to take this opportunity because I think it's part of one other thing I may have to just thank you for everybody. Say I really appreciate the work you do. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't even remember you abstaining from my confirmation anymore. Oh, that was that loud.
Okay. Other questions? Comments? Great. Thank you, Attorney General Sabo.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're moving on now to approval of the agenda for March 5th. There are a couple of things, I guess, to explain. First, President Pepito has requested that I put forward a special order for Cal Lodge with the option for us to go into closed session if necessary. Things are dramatic with Cal Lodge as always. Surprise. So there's that. Our Student Spaces Coordinator has requested a 15-minute space application special order so that y'all are familiar with that and can understand like the mechanics of it in case your students are asking you. The GA President, Bahar Nawab, President, she's former President now, interim Vice President. I said like the GA President was. She's requested a special order for the tech fee. I believe that was 20 minutes. She's very, very pregnant though, and she requested that it be earlier in the agenda. So if y'all approve the special order, I would ask that you just give me the capacity to place it on the agenda accordingly so that we can get her out of here earlier so that she can go be pregnant somewhere else more relaxing than this. And the last one is that we did agree to do a recess for the Public Service Center so they could do focus groups with us. And if I'm not mistaken, that was for the March 5th meeting. And so that's just a heads up that that will be somewhere on the agenda. Not exactly a special order because we're recessing so that they can do that with us, but you get the idea. So beyond those four sort of things, are there any other requests for special orders or ideas that need to be added to the March 5th agenda?
How long will the focus groups, how long is that recess going to be? Do you know what the rest of the
I think we told them like 45 minutes or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it may be a late meeting. I know we're normally very efficient, but other questions about the agenda? All right, if there are none, I need a motion to approve the agenda for March 5th with the proposed changes.
I move to approve the agenda for March 5th with the proposed amendments.
Great. All right, it's been moved. There's been a second. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you all. We have an agenda for next week. So on new business, let's do it this way. So for Finance Committee, we'll do SB 31 and SB 38. Senators, if there is as always, if there are mistakes about where the bills are being allocated based on your intention as the author of the bill, please let me know so we can send it to the right place. For the University and External Affairs Committee, we'll have SD 32, 33, 34, 36, and that's all. And then for Constitutional and Procedural Review, we'll have SD 35, 37, and 39. So, if that's the correct allocation for all the bills, I just need a motion to send those bills to the committees as articulated.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Abstentions? Motion carries. We'll now move on to appointed officer reports, starting with the Attorney General. Tonight.
Okay, hi again, everyone. Let's see. Other than my usual living in Conrad and the Senate, I went to the Residence Hall Assembly on Monday. They were really excited to have someone come and talk about elections. So I'm really hoping that we are able to have a better relationship with RHA in terms of like the Attorney General's office and RHA, because they said last year they didn't really hear from the Attorney General about like election violations and stuff like that. So definitely going to be planning on being there and being more present in that space. Also, let's see. I don't want to steal Gina's thunder, so I'm just going to say also, other than what's already on the page, I did notify the GA president that there's a vacancy on Judicial Council that is a graduate vacancy, and so he sort of had already his 3-week time to make that appointment. I don't know if he knew that, so I'm going to kind of give him a little bit more time, but otherwise it devolves back to the authority of the GA itself to nominate that position. And then I'm sure the chair of Conrad will talk more about the undergraduate appointments that we are going to be discussing over the next few weeks. Also, the informational candidates meeting, I'll let Gina talk about actually. And thank you to, I now have 4 senators who have reported about the lobbying requirement: Grantham, Feynman, Mullen, Pavin, and Catherine. So thank you. For the rest of you, please email us soon. Also, for those of you who are on standing committees, which are all of you, we should start generally the discussion about appointments now that that is coming up. It's just around the riverbend. So please start the search for, or at least start advertising it on there. And also, I'd really encourage all of you, we talked about this in Elections Council, to really make it a very, very vested and sincere effort to advertise the elections Facebook group and the elections website itself. There are some of you whose campaigns or like personal senator pages have more than the elections page, which is sad. So if you can direct some of your loyal followers to that page so we can also steal them and give them information, then we'd be much appreciated. Other than that, I've just been like living, breathing bylaws overhaul, and thank you to Natalia, who's one of the interns in my office, who's also been living, breathing, doing that too, so thank you. As far as that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Questions for our Attorney General? All right, fair enough. Thank you very much. So next we have a report from our finance officer, who does not appear to be here. I'm sure he submitted his written report, probably. Next we have Elections Council.
Hi everyone. So this week we are officially beginning the elections process with the informational session this Friday. That's going to be in 262 Grinnell. We've put the information on our website, our Facebook page. We've sent out a mass email for Rob. And also the Daily Cal, so that information should be out to most of the student body. And if not, I'd really appreciate it if you let students who are interested know. It is not mandatory, it's just a way for them to get to know the process a little better. The EFC will be there, I will be there, my team will be there, the Attorney General and his team will be there as well to answer any questions. We will be submitting filing forms to the Lead Center as well as uploading that online Monday at 9 a.m. So those are just submitted to the Lead Center, and if anyone has any questions on that, please let me know. And then filing period is about 2 weeks, and then right after that we'll have our official candidates meeting in which, like I said, we won't allow proxies. And in the next 2 weeks, I'm sure I'll be getting emails from different people, but as of right now, no one is excused. And Jenny will be leading both those events. So that's really exciting. We'll be meeting with the GA this week to talk to them about how we can team up for more votes from the graduate assembly. As well as we've just been updating the Daily Cal Facebook and website with advertisements and announcements about the elections. You'll be seeing a little bit more in terms of advertising on the Daily Cal from our part. And that's it. Any questions? Now is the time to ask.
Questions for our Elections Council Chair? All right, if there are none, thank you so much. All right, so if we have no report from the Judicial Council, we'll move on to Marketing and Communications Director.
Hi everyone. I think I have a pretty long report this week, so it should all be in the written report, but I'll just touch on a few things. For the website, our team is moving along with moving content from the old website to the new website, so that's just going along steadily. I'm going to try and see if the webmaster can come in the next week or the week after that to report. He can probably give more specific information about what's going on with that. I'm working with Diana from EVP Projects to discuss content for the About section and also the ASUC Wiki. Yeah, you can contact me if you have any questions about the website or anything. Last week we got new interns, so I've been working with them to fit them into the team. And this week we're also ordering a bunch of new stuff, like we're ordering a new tent and 5 new banners for tabling supplies. We're also looking to get a new camera for filming Senate videos. Right now they're not very high quality, so sorry about that. And lastly, if you want anything put on the Facebook, just contact me. I can put it on the Facebook. Yeah. Any questions?
Any questions for our Marketing and Communications Director? All right, thank you, Joe. So we have an other appointed officers category. I know we have at least one officer here, our Director of Environmental Sustainability, Haley.
Hi everyone, just a few quick reports tonight. I hope you've all heard of Excel Descent. It's happening on Monday. So basically there's this big action against Keystone, which I talked to you about last semester. So Keystone XL pipeline, you all know why it's awful. So Monday we're going to have a gigantic rally outside the State Department building in San Francisco. So it's in solidarity with an action on the East Coast that's going to have 500 youth come to DC and do a human oil spill in front of the White House. So we are going to be doing the same thing, meeting at the Ferry Building Monday at 8:30 a.m. and marching to the State Department building to buy back our future from them. So if you're interested in that, send your people, tell your constituents, and we're gonna fight the Keystone XL pipeline like usual. And then also there is a big fracking rally coming up. It's March 18th. It's gonna be very exciting on campus. Wes, our environmental advocacy coordinator, has been doing a lot of work to plan it, and it's gonna be really exciting with a bunch of cool professors and amazing speakers. And then March 15th, which is the Saturday before, we're doing a frack storm the Capitol in Sacramento, where we are getting a big bus to take us to Sacramento. There's going to be thousands of people at the Capitol that day to fight fracking and tell Governor Brown that fracking fracking is whack, frack is whack. So if you want to hear more about why fracking is bad, like I did Keystone last time, we'll definitely do that. Also, Blue Gold, our water campaign, I think I talked to you about it a couple weeks ago. That is picking up speed, as is the Office of Sustainability's campaign. Every drop counts. You should have seen those flyers go up around campus. And if you want to pick some up and put them in any place, they're in the Senate Lounge right now. And I think that's it, but please send your people to Excel Dissent. It's going to be huge. There's a nonviolent civil disobedience training on Sunday. If you want to get arrested with us, there's going to be some students doing that. ASUC does not officially endorse that, but you're welcome to do it. So that is 1 p.m. at CERC on Sunday, and then Monday, 8:30 a.m. at Berkeley Building in San Francisco. So we're meeting at BART at 7:35. So Excel Dissent. Okay, and fracking rally. Thank you.
Any questions for Amy before she kicks off quickly? All right, if there are no questions, we're good. So, back here anywhere, are there other appointed officers who need to make reports? No? Great. We'll move on then to appointments. Hopefully most of you remember last week that I announced Wes as the EVP nominee for the University External Affairs at-large student seat. Wes is here to answer questions for you tonight. I guess we can have him come up and introduce himself, and then you all can ask him any questions that you need before hopefully confirming him.
Hello everyone, I'm Wes Adrianson. I'm the Environmental Advocacy Coordinator in the ASUC Office of Sustainability. I'm a first year Civil and Environmental Engineering major. I don't know, do you have any questions?
Yes. Senators, questions for Wes? Senator Truax.
Hi Wes, thank you. Sorry, this is very loud. Thanks so much for coming out. Yeah, I'm just wondering, since you're first year, like what were you involved in like high school, or like just like what else have you been involved in?
I was pretty involved in high school, in like the recycling club, that sort of thing, but definitely not in the same capacity that I am here.
Cool.
I started out as an intern the first few weeks, and then this spot was open, so got appointed to that. And
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, any other questions, senators? All right, if there are no questions, Senator Hyman.
I move to approve.
Wonderful. All right, there's been a motion to approve Wes as our appointee. The motion has been seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Congratulations, Wes.
Thank you.
So, Senator Truax, I gave Wes your email address, and he should be contacting you to make sure that he gets onto the list about external affairs meetings. Now that we've done appointments, we'll move on to committee reports, starting with constitutional and procedural review.
Hi everybody. So for Crown Rev, SB 23 passed with amendments, SB 24 passed with amendments, and SB 25 passed with amendments. And so for the next 2 weeks, Conrad will be conducting J-Council interviews for the undergraduate position starting at 8 o'clock, 8 to 9. So we will be interviewing 2 candidates per session. And we will continue Conrad at 9 o'clock as scheduled. That is all.
Great. All right, if there are no questions, then we will move on to finance.
Hi everyone, this week in FICOM we talked about SB 30. SB 30 passed with $2,071, 1,825 of it coming from contingency, 250 of it coming from the Student Space Reservation Fund, and 996 of it coming from the Greek Opportunity Fund. Also, we are in discussion regarding the Greek Opportunity Fund, if we want to, because the funds are dwindling, if we want to replenish or what we want to do about that in the future. We're still having conversations about it. I encourage any senators, if they're interested and want to voice their opinions, come to FICOM this Monday. We're going to be having a discussion about it, so look forward to that.
All right, so if there are no questions for Finance Committee, then we'll move on to, question?
You said 8:30.
All right, University and External Affairs.
Okay. SB 11 passed with amendments. SB 22 passed. SB 26 passed. SB 28 passed. And SB 29 passed.
And I would like to reiterate, if you all want to co-sponsor bills, please email me. Like, you can totally co-sponsor whatever, just send me an email, and I'd be happy to put your name on the bill. Thank you.
All right, so any questions about that? If there are none, we'll move on to other committee reports. I don't believe there are any other committees that are active outside of our standing committees right now. So we're now in consent calendar. As a reminder of what's in consent calendar, we have Senate Bill 11 as amended, 22 that was passed as is, 23 as amended, 24 as amended, 25 as amended, 26 passed as is, 28 passed as is, 29 passed as is, and 30 as amended. So
I'm sorry, I spoke. SB 22 actually passed with amendments.
okay, so SB 22 was passed with amendments. With that, are there any senators who need to pull a Senate bill from consent calendar? Senator Roche?
I would like to pull SB 26.
All right, so SB 26 has been pulled from consent calendar. It will now go into immediate consideration. Are there any other things that need to be pulled from consent calendar before we move on? All right, so if there are none, we will consider the consent calendar passed. We will now move into immediate consideration. Yes. There are a number of exciting bills in consent calendar tonight, not the least of which is improving the UC sexual assault policies, for which we have many speakers tonight. So for those of you who are not familiar with consent calendar, who are here in support of that bill, consent calendar means that it passes unanimous support of the Senate, essentially. So congratulations to the authors of the bill and the people who continue to work on that. Before we move into immediate consideration really quickly, now that we've gotten through the Title IX related stuff, I do want to bring up two people who didn't get an opportunity to comment earlier. During the actual public comment section, we have Shannon Thomas and then Haley Broder after that.
Hi everyone. For some of you may know me as one of the co-chairs of Squelch. And I just want to introduce myself again. I'm Shannon Thomas. I really want to thank you for your consideration of this bill, all of the hard work that people have put in. I also just want to say that I am a survivor of a sexual assault that occurred less than 1 year ago. But I'm here actually to speak on my experiences with UC Berkeley's policy on sexual harassment and the sexual harassment it's been experiencing within the last month. Upon starting my first day of classes this semester, I was targeted for political intimidation and sexual harassment by a fellow classmate who proceeded to tell me that I should be intimidated by him, to threaten my future career, and to say that he was considering hate sex and threatening hate sex and what sounded like rape to me. When I talked to my professors and shared my department about this situation, they immediately told me to go to the Office for Prevention of Harassment and Discrimination. When I did so, I was discouraged from filing a formal complaint because they said that the body of evidence that I presented them, Facebook message and textbook comments, did not fulfill the requirement for severe and pervasive discrimination that is required under the UC Berkeley sexual harassment policies. After this conversation, I proceeded to request the OPHD pursue a no contact order between myself and this individual, as well as asking that they remove him from the class that we share. I was then later contacted by the officer who said that after a productive conversation, none of my requests had been achieved, and that the individual was both genuine and sincere in his apology for the situation, and that it was simply a joke. As a survivor of sexual assault, threats of hate sex are not a joke to me. Threats to ruin my career are not a joke to me, and they should not be to my university either.
Great, thank you.
Hi everyone, I was just up here for a very different issue, but I want to thank you for taking this issue so seriously when our administration clearly isn't. We have a huge problem with sexual assault on our campus and it needs to be addressed swiftly, so I really want to thank you for standing up tonight in solidarity with survivors and showing that this administration needs to take responsibility, believe survivors, and listen when they come forward with their stories, because this issue is pervasive and it needs to be addressed now. And obviously, there are people on this campus who are trying to turn a blind eye purposely to diminish their experiences in order to sweep sexual assault cases under the rug and keep the campus looking like this environment that it isn't. Because sexual assault happens on our campus, it happens on every single campus here, and if it is more likely to be assaulted than it is if you go to college than it is if you don't, we obviously have a problem. So thank you so much for addressing it tonight when so many survivors on this campus are going through so much. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Can.
I'd just like to be added as a co-sponsor to SB 11 in the minutes.
All right, so that change will be reflected in the minutes. Since we've moved past consent calendar and we're now in immediate consideration, I'd like to give time to the author of SB 26 to introduce the bill and to state its purpose before we enter conversations about it.
Me.
All right, Senator Butler.
So, my office wrote this bill after talking to the city's Commission on Labor, of which quite a few students are actually members. I think a lot of you know Tanae Kazari, he's on there, Angus, Peter, a lot of really awesome people, and we wanted to support the ordinance, or the idea that they came up with basically Berkeley workers would be bumped up to a minimum wage of $10.74 in July, and eventually be moved up to a living wage, because I mean, as literally all of us know, the cost of living in the Bay Area, especially Berkeley, is ridiculously high. And actually most restaurants and businesses supported this. There have just been a few outliers. We know that the Berkeley community is pretty progressive and pretty supportive, and most folks are already paying above the minimum wage, but for those who aren't, most workers that are on minimum wage are women, people of color. A lot of us have jobs that are minimum wage. So this is not only an economic justice issue, but it can be a gender justice issue, a racial justice issue, a whole lot of things. So please support the bill as it is written right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Senator Clint, for introducing that bill. If there are questions, we'll start a speakers list for questions or comments about the bill. Senator Woodson.
One thing I was going to say, I do support obviously increasing minimum wage, but for me, I guess the reason why I just really support of this in particular is just because of the fact that I myself, I'm not only economist, so I don't know what certain amount is viable in the community. So also I know there were being many arguments from some businesses saying that they would have to cut hours, they would have to cut employees, etc. That fact. I do see there's a lot of very good research in this bill, but to me, it doesn't, for me at least, satisfy some of the questions or arguments that have been brought up by some businesses or concerns of the fact that they wouldn't be able to extend their hours, or the fact that they wouldn't be able to hire new employees, or they would have to cut because they wouldn't be able to afford it. Also, in addition to that, I feel there are also other ways to go about this, such as trying to see how we can give small businesses more tax cuts to try to extend their hours, to try to give them more leeway so that way they can actually hire more workers. Because although it is true in fact that the minimum wage at this point isn't where it should be at, I don't know if $15 is the amount. It may be higher, it may be lower than that, but like I said, I'm not qualified enough to do that. And on that same point exactly, what I'm trying to say there is the fact that if we are, let's say, going at it from this approach or so, as opposed to, let's say, like I said, giving businesses tax cuts or trying to see what other problems can be used to solve this, and I think it sometimes throws away, it sometimes band-aids the issue, whereby we can look at it at multiple aspects. So, but I do want to respect the author, and I think this is a very good bill, but like I said, as someone who's not an economist myself, I don't know with $15 what that would actually do, or what impact that would have in terms of that. So thank you.
All right, so next on the speakers list is Senator Can.
I just comment to Senator Welch is that the bill is cited with the Bureau of Labor Statistics at the bottom, citing the buying power at 1408, and I think that's how the calculations became $15 for this bill. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments from those who have not spoken? Okay, if there's no further commentary on the bill, I'd like to entertain a motion to pass SB 26?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any objections to the passage of the bill? Any abstentions? All right, Senator Reed, Senator Boche. With those abstentions, all those previously voting in favor, that bill passes. With nothing else in immediate consideration, we'll move into old business. I didn't know where else to really put this, but we have a requested amendment to the minutes that has been causing a student group a particular amount of trouble. I'll defer to Senator Uwoma to introduce that.
Thank you for the time. So in week 2 of the Senate, or FICON, we approved the $900 FIOTA data to get to reserve the Alumni House. However, it wasn't recorded in the minutes, and for the lead center, if you don't put it in the minutes, they cannot give you funding for that. So the student group has been waiting like 3 weeks to be able to pay the Alumni House, and we're kind of like honest about that. So we're looking to get it approved through Senate to be able to have it read. So I moved to amend the Finance Committee's minutes to allocate $900 from the Space Reservation Fund to IOTA Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated.
Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. I would also just recommend that along with that motion, just because the Finance Committee's minutes, for all intents and purposes, are like absorbed into the Senate minutes for recording, that we also make sure that we amend the Senate's minutes with that bill as well.
Okay.
So anything that contains what is a week 2 budget bill, that be amended in the Finance Committee's minutes as well as the Senate's minutes, just for any additional clarity that the lead center may need.
So moved.
All right, so that's been moved, it was seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? All right, seeing none, motion carries. Thank you all. Yeah, Senator Padilla.
Can I have myself as a co-sponsor for SB 11 and 25?
All right, so we have a request for the minutes to be recorded as stated. Senator Wheat.
And I myself as a co-sponsor to SB 11, 22, and 28.
All right, it is recorded.
Can you add me as a co-sponsor to SB 11?
I have an idea.
Can we just do it later?
Let's just do it then. Cool. Now, moving on. Elected official announcements. I think we'll start with Senator Roos' side this time. Remember, off the top, if you need to be added as a sponsor on a Senate bill, please get that out of the way so you only have to vote once.
So this is more for the science engineering folks, but tomorrow, Professor Grace O'Connell will be hosting a Ask Me Anything session. It's tomorrow, 2 to 3 p.m. at 3110 Echeverry. You can literally ask her anything. She'll be sharing her experience, like why she decided to become a faculty, why she chose science engineering as undergrad, and what she studied, and how it's different when she goes to the industry. So it's just some personal experience.
I just want to make an announcement about SB 28 as well as the conference that's coming along with it. On March 8th, there's a Freedom in Action conference that's attracts 200 Bay Area college students from all over, and I wanted to make that announcement. If any of you all are interested, just send me an email and I can tell you how to RSVP for that conference. Thank you.
Hi, I just wanted to briefly apologize for missing a little bit of Senate today and like 2 weeks ago. Berkeley Model UN's conference is in a week, which is an organization I'm a part of where we bring high schoolers to Berkeley, and I needed to make a presentation, so I'm sorry for missing.
Hi everybody, I just forgot to mention again for J Council, you can still give me your nominations. I can still send in out an interview slot. Also, I just want to thank everybody who attended Filipino Heritage Night for Comments Basketball. We won against USC.
Alright, hello y'all. So, hopefully y'all are doing good. So, just a couple of things that my office is doing. We're gonna try to revitalize the campaign, defining which is not your Asian ghetto, kind of talking more about Durant Food Court and that history and why it should be Durant Food Court, and reclaiming that name back because Asian ghetto, as everyone call it, is very problematic. And if y'all want to talk to me about that, we can to the side. but I just wanted to bring that out to y'all that we will probably be bringing that campaign back because that's something that happened in the past.
So I guess this is just like an announcement sort of thing. So starting March 2nd, the engineering library is going to extend its hours to midnight. And so it's really good news because the Dean of Engineering is kind of funding the pilot program, and it's going to extend for the next year and a half. And if those numbers go up, they're going to try and look forward to extending it even further. So if you have any, encourage everyone. It's called Because the Engineering Library, but it's really open to everyone, and it's a great place to study. So really encourage your friends. I'd encourage you all to study there too. And this is kind of the next step to kind of eventually getting 24 hours at whatever library is. So yeah. And on top of that, I also just wanted to put myself in the minutes as a co-sponsor for SB number 11. Yeah.
I would like to be added as a co-sponsor for SB 23. And then, as something you might have saw on Facebook earlier today, Senator Lauren Week and I are hosting a Bear Walk Town Hall, March 11th. You all should come to it. That'll be really cool. And then tomorrow night, 7 to 8, somewhere in Dwinell, I can never remember the room number. Myself and my intern Anthony, who was here, I don't know if he's still here, are hosting a workshop in Calvin called More Than Marriage, and it's about queer issues other than just same-sex marriage, because oh my god, stop. So it's going to be really, really cool. We're going to talk about lots of cool stuff, not cool stuff, really bad stuff, like queer homelessness and pink washing and immigration issues. So come by, it'll be really cool. It's 243 Dwinell. Be there, 7 to 8.
Yeah, a few announcements. First, I just wanted to add myself as a co-sponsor to SB 22 and 23, if possible, for minutes. And the second thing, I wanted to congratulate Senator Emily Truax for a very successful Educate Debate Summit. Also want to congratulate Senators Mullen and Destiny Woolworth for presenting. I was trying to make your things before I came late, so so good job on that. On that same part too, I wanted to just remind you all, if you all have any events you want to share, you can just put it on my page. I don't mind sharing it. Like I said, I'm not running for anything, so you can share whatever you guys say. Next thing, also too, the Niagara Youth Association, we're hosting a soccer tournament, $700 grand prize. So if you know anyone who plays soccer, I'm just going to pass around these flyers. So you all can, I guess I'll pass around, whatever. I'm going to pass around those flyers so you all can tell your constituents. If you don't know anybody, just give me the flyers because they're expensive and I had to print them out. So yeah, but yeah, anyway, $700 grand prize for first place, second place $250, third place $150. Disclaimer: if it's less than 12 teams, the grand prize goes down. But anyway, so yeah, thanks. All right.
Hi y'all. First of all, I just want to add myself to as a co-sponsor for SB 11 in the minutes. Second of all, I want to remind y'all that the UC Berkeley Suicide Awareness Walk is happening on March 9th. Senator Mohamed's actually graciously wrote a bill to support it next week. But I've also created a team that I can email out to y'all. You can start your own team, get more people to sign up, or you can join mine, which is in Malik's name. And we're trying to raise money. Last year, Even More was the top fundraising chapter for the nation, raising $35,000. And the club was only started 2 years ago, so that's really encouraging. Hopefully we can break the mark. We have 500 participants. So amongst all the campaigning and election stuff, try and add a cover photo if you can about the walk. And then I wanted to report back. I saw, I was told something really interesting by Catholic Caution today about the academic calendar for next year. So they're looking at actually changing the start date of the school year to be starting on Wednesday instead of Thursday. But what that would mean is that we get to get the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off. Which means that all classes would be canceled by academic calendar, and I know most of us don't go to class anyways, but this way, it's true. But this way classes would actually be formally canceled, you wouldn't be missing any lab. So we'd have to start a day earlier, but move-in date would move a day earlier, so everything would just be shifted a day earlier, but it means that all of us could actually go home on Wednesday instead of pretending that we're gonna be here. And professors getting mad when they have to cancel class anyways. So I thought that was interesting bit of information. It's not completely confirmed, but I expressed that I thought students would be really interested in it and supportive. If you all feel differently or you dissent from that, please let me know and I can express that to Kathy as well. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So I just wanted to give you all a heads up that in the coming weeks there's going to be a Berkeley Syria Solidarity Week. As for those of you who don't know what's going on in Syria, there's been like a civil unrest and basically a civil war for the past couple of years. So we're doing a Solidarity Week and trying to, and you know, media attention has been fading from that, but the casualties are still rising. So we're going to be holding vigils and things of that nature. So I will give you all more information in the coming weeks.
Can I add myself to SB 11? And also to let you all know, I sit on Be Connected, which we just met today actually. And so it's basically like the Google platform that we use for Bmail, Calendar, everything that we use for that. And so today we talked a lot about privacy issues. And so if you all have any questions, I know that there's like a huge phishing mail problem that we have on campus, and a lot of students, faculty, and like staff are just like clicking on wrong things, and a lot of information is just getting everywhere, obviously, with our new generation. So if you have any other questions, like let me know, and I could definitely speak more about that.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor to SB11 as well. Also, we'll let y'all know that Ignite is actually hosting a conference April 19th. If folks want to get on the planning committee, plan the conference, we have committees for logistics, media, finance, and outreach. So if y'all are interested in that, please reach out to me. Also want to highlight, moving towards the end of Black History Month, and want to highlight the idea that like Black History Month is great, that we have like a month to recognize, but understanding that Black History Month is not only just a month, it's an idea of representing that Black history, which is going on in entirety, that it is essentially what made America. And want to just share a quote by Morgan Freeman, which says, I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
Yeah, I'd like to also be added as a co-sponsor for SB11. Also just a friendly reminder, I apologize. This week is Fit Week, Fit Well Week. It's a Pac-12 fitness challenge where each Pac-12 school like competes against one another to see who has like the most fit students. So I highly encourage you all to either go to the RSF or to the gym on Piedmont to get in a workout. I know we're all busy, but it's always good to hit the elliptical or pump some iron. And unlike Solomon, I actually am running for something. It's a half marathon in May. So if anyone likes to jog, let me know. I make really good jogging playlists, but everyone's jog, pull it down.